Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ziprecruiter.com/zip. That's ziprecruiter.com/zip. ziprecruiter.com/zip.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
I see Michael Keaton trending on social media, and I thought, oh, God, please don't let him be dead. I want one more Batman movie from Michael Keaton. No, it's just his birthday. Happy birthday to Michael Keaton. Then I saw Rory McIlroy trending. It's fine. They're all fine. He's out in Ireland wearing his green jacket. Good. He deserves it. You know something that is not really trending all that significantly? There is a wild story from the New York Times today about an American invasion of North Korea in 2019 when Donald Trump was president the first time. A secret mission. SEAL Team 6 got into North Korea to plant listening devices. The mission was a disaster. The SEALs encountered a boat within minutes and opened fire, killing everyone on board. It was a fishing boat. Could have started World War III. Let me read you something. Now, just bear with me here because there's a method to my madness. I'll notice how this story is not, it's not even exploding on social media, but just let me read you this. This hit the wires early this morning. From Dave Phillips and Matthew Cole. Dave Phillips is a national correspondent for the New York Times, and Matthew Cole, a freelance journalist. Both have covered the military for more than 15 years. Allow me to read this. A group of Navy SEALs emerged from the ink-black ocean on a winter night in early 2019 and crept to a rocky shore in North Korea. They were on a top-secret mission so complex and consequential that everything had to go exactly right. The objective was to plant an electronic device that would let the United States intercept the communications of North Korea's reclusive leader Kim Jong-un amid high-level nuclear talks with President Trump. The mission had the potential to provide the United States with a stream of valuable intelligence, but it meant putting American commandos on North Korean soil, a move that, if detected, not only could sink negotiations, but also lead to a hostage crisis or an escalating conflict with a nuclear-armed foe. It was so risky, it required the president's direct approval. For the operation, the Navy chose SEAL Team 6's Red Squadron, the same unit that killed Osama bin Laden. The SEALs rehearsed for months, aware that every move needed to be perfect. But when they reached what they thought was a deserted shore that night, wearing black wetsuits and night vision goggles, the mission swiftly unraveled. A North Korean boat appeared out of the dark. Flashlights from the bow swept over the water. Fearing they had been spotted, the SEALs opened fire. Within seconds, everyone on the North Korean boat was dead. The SEALs retreated into the sea without planting the listening device. The 2019 operation has never been publicly acknowledged or even hinted at, by the United States or even North Korea. The details remain classified and are being reported here for the first time. The Trump administration did not notify key members of Congress who oversee intelligence operations before or after the mission. The lack of notice may have violated the law. The White House declined to comment. The account is based on interviews with 24 people, including civilian government officials, members of the first administration, and current or former military personnel with knowledge of the mission. All of them spoke on the condition of anonymity because of the mission's classified status. Several of the people said they were discussing details about the mission because they were concerned that special operations failures are often hidden by government secrecy. If the public and policymakers become aware only of high-profile successes, such as the raid that killed bin Laden in Pakistan, they may underestimate the extreme risks that American forces undertake. The military operation on North Korean soil close to American military bases in South Korea and the Pacific region also risked setting off a broader conflict with a hostile nuclear-armed and highly militarized adversary. Oh, it goes on and on and on from there. It's interesting, is it not, that this story is only coming out now? It's interesting, is it not? It's not getting a lot of buzz. Oh, reporters are circulating the story. It's not even a big deal over at Blue Sky today. So why? Let me tell you what I think is happening here. First of all, isn't it interesting that the story did not come out during the Biden administration? Isn't it? The New York Times runs a massive expose about how Donald Trump nearly started World War III in 2019. He sends Navy SEALs, personally authorizing the mission, into North Korea to plant a listening device. The moment they set shore, it goes wrong. They wind up killing a bunch of innocent North Korean civilians. They immediately abort the mission. It never comes up. No one ever knows about it until now. You would think that the Biden administration would have let it slip. I mean, wouldn't you? In all honesty, given the hatred of the Biden administration for Donald Trump, given that they believe he's a threat to democracy who could start a world war, you would think during the campaign this would surreptitiously leak out of the military. I mean, the people involved are still there. I mean, again, according to the New York Times, this account is based on interviews with 24 people, including civilian government officials, members of the first Trump administration, and current and former military personnel. Current military personnel with knowledge of the mission. You would think it would leak during the Biden administration when they are claiming Donald Trump is an authoritarian tyrant who would start World War III, and they did not leak this story? Why now? That's what you should be asking yourself, not if it's true, but why now? And you don't need to ask yourself if it's true because we know stories like this get walked back. The New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, they all, every time they run these stories, they insist it's the beginning of the end. They've got the goods, and then they walk it back. Remember, James Comey was going to testify before Congress that Donald Trump personally pressured him to cancel an investigation or personally pressured him to indict Hillary Clinton or some such. That got walked back. He never said it before Congress. Constantly, we hear these salacious stories about claims that have been made or will be made, and they don't come true. Why now? Several of these people said they were discussing details about the mission because they were concerned that special operation failures are often hidden by government secrecy. So you didn't want to do that when the Democrats were in charge of Congress to investigate the president? Why now? If the public and policymakers become aware only of high-profile successes, such as the raid that killed bin Laden in Pakistan, they may underestimate the extreme risks that American forces undertake. Okay, but why now? tell you my theory. My theory is that whether or not the details are accurate, whether or not it's true or not, I don't think it's a coincidence that this story has come out days after the American Navy blew up a Trinidad vessel leaving Venezuela with drugs, as the president announces he's redefining the terms of engagement for military action in Central and South America. That's what I think is going on here. I think this story could have come out at any time, but there are people, active and former members of the military and civilian government officials. Now, that's very important phrasing here. Civilian government officials. That's the deep staters. That's the bureaucrats. That's the people who leaked the story on the Ukraine stuff that turned out to be a nothing burger that got Donald Trump impeached the first time. They don't like he's changed the rules of engagement dealing in Central and South America. The president wants to send in special operators to take out the drug cartels. He wants to send them into Central and South America and root out the manufacturing facilities. That's what the story's about. Seeding a paranoia that the president is a loose gun and somebody needs to stop him. Someone needs to do something. He's going to start World War III. Well, you held on to the data for all these years. 2019, 2020, 2021, 22, 23, 24, here, 25, 6, 7 years. You held on to the information. You never said anything. You could have done it when Biden was president. You held it on until Donald Trump was president the second time to do a retroactive tour of something that was not a foreign policy or military success. Now, why now? Because you know the president is redefining the rules of engagement to engage the drug cartels, to move beyond civilian targeting them to military targets, and you don't like it, and you're trying to scare people now. That's why now. It has nothing to do with the past and everything to do with the present, and you give the game away when you say several of these people said they were discussing details about the mission because they're concerned special operations failures are hidden by government secrecy. You want more spotlight and investigation on the special operators because you know Donald Trump is sending special operators to Central and South America to disrupt drug operations. It's all clear and present danger. Tom Clancy's book. It's what they're doing, and you're trying to sabotage a military campaign against American enemies now, not then. If it was as big a deal as it is, you know and I know the North Koreans would have made a big deal about it. They would have. They write, it's unclear how much North Korea was able to discover about the mission, but the SEAL operation is one chapter in a decades-long effort by U.S. administrations to engage North Korea and constrain its nuclear weapons program. The SEAL mission was intended to fix a strategic blind spot. For years, U.S. intelligence agencies have found it nearly impossible to recruit human sources and tap communications in North Korea's insular authoritarian state. So great. In addition to wanting to undermine Donald Trump and the SEALs, you're making it all but known that we haven't penetrated North Korea enough to be functionally capable of dealing with the intelligence out of it. Well done now. Tell the whole world we're flying blind to North Korea. Tell the whole world. Why now? They're doing it now because they're trying to stop something from the future happening. Why now? They're doing it because they know Donald Trump is changing the rules of engagement, and it's got them scared that the old rules don't apply. They're trying to undermine the president, changing the way the American military and the American foreign policy apparatus and the American police apparatus deals with foreign narco traffickers. They're trying to scare Americans and Congress. They're trying to undermine Donald Trump with members of the military who are finding out about this operation just now. It could have been leaked at any time. It is not a coincidence in my mind that this story is being leaked now after the president has changed the rules of engagement in dealing with foreign narco traffickers. They waited for that to raise the red flag because they are afraid, they probably know, that he's going to send them after the narco traffickers. And we should be sending them after the narco traffickers. But there are those within Washington, D.C., and the halls of power and the corridors of the military who abhor the idea of changing the rules of engagement because they think they can treat the narco terrorists as civilian criminals. We're way past that now. The president's made the right decision. And this, why now? This is an effort to undermine the military's engagement in Central and South America. Howdy, welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. Some news from the Wall Street Journal, an exclusive there, that Robert F. Kennedy is going to announce the possible link of autism, not to vaccines, but to Tylenol. The report expected this month from the Department of Health and Human Services is likely to suggest as among the potential causes of autism low levels of folate, an important vitamin, and Tylenol taken during pregnancy, people familiar with the matter said. The agency also plans to pinpoint a form of folate known as folinic acid or leucovorin, the people said, as a way to decrease the symptoms of autism, which affected roughly 1 in 31 8-year-olds in the U.S. in 2022. Tylenol, the active ingredient of which is acetaminophen, is a widely used pain reliever, including by pregnant women. Some previous studies have indicated risks to fetal development, but others have found no association. The American College of Obstetrics and Gynecologists says it's safe to use in pregnancy, though it recommends pregnant women consult with their doctor before using it, as with all medicines. So not vaccines. Maybe they'll get released in the report. We haven't seen the report. It comes out later this month. But Tylenol and low folate, which low folate, by the way, can cause all sorts of problems. So Tylenol will get the blame. Shares of McNeil Consumer Healthcare, a division of Kenvue, are plummeting today with this report from the Wall Street Journal that maybe I don't like to take Tylenol generally because of liver damage. I have known a couple of people in my life, 2 different people who died from acetaminophen and it's a horrible death. And they were not suicides; they were accidental, taking different products that they didn't realize all were acetaminophen. One in particular, I know, thought they were trading off between acetaminophen and non-acetaminophen, but it was all acetaminophen, and it was just awful, awful, awful stuff. I don't like taking Tylenol as a result. It's perfectly safe to do in the low doses. Follow the label, but I don't know. It still bothers me after knowing 2 people to die like that. But now maybe an autism relation. We'll see. All right, no way to really transition there, so I'll just tell you, Old Glory Bank has some great resources for you guys at oldglorybank.com/smart. If you are interested in educating your kids on how to save money, oldglorybank.com/smart is fantastic. Old Glory Bank is creating a platform that combines traditional banking with crypto. It's the new generation of banking, one that's rooted in freedom and privacy. It's their mission to offer Americans innovative banking options that protect their privacy, security, and liberty. They're the only bank that stands firm on faith, freedom, and American values while also leading the way in digital finance. If you're ready for a bank that doesn't bow to politics as shaping the future of money, you can go to oldglorybank.com/Eric. That's oldglorybank.com/Eric. You can learn more about investing in crypto and having banking with Old Glory Bank at oldglorybank.com/Eric. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. Hello, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number doesn't matter because, well, I don't have a call screener today. Patrick Ruffini is a pretty insightful pollster with Echelon Insights. One of their reputations just continued to grow and grow and grow. They've gotten better and better and better. They're now considered one of the top pollsters in the country, and he produces some insightful emails as well. The Intersection is his Substack piece that he's got, examining a lot of their polling, and He says it's the cost of living stupid is his title. I will put it back in the old James Carville line. It's the economy stupid. If you are a political junkie, there's an old documentary called The War Room. You should watch it. If you are at all interested in politics, watch The War Room. It's a documentary about the 1992 Bill Clinton victory. And let me just set the stage for you. For those of you younger than me, for those of you who your idea of politics is your guy, whether it's Donald Trump or Obama or somebody got elected and that's when history for politics began for you, let me just explain this to you. George H.W. Bush, after the Gulf War, it was the first major military engagement of the United States since Vietnam, an all-hands-on-deck fight. George H.W. Bush, who was Ronald Reagan's vice president, became president, essentially Reagan's third term, decided to raise taxes on Americans, threw the country into recession. The country was coming out of recession in 1992. Before the recession hit, when the Gulf War happened, he was the most popular politician since George Washington. Now, you're thinking I'm exaggerating when I say he was the most popular American president since George Washington. That's not actually an exaggeration at all. The Gallup polling at the time, and remember, this was landline polling back in the day, so it was very accurate polling. We didn't have cell phones back in 1991. People were getting calls on their lines. Polling was considered, it was the golden age of polling. And George H.W. Bush had popularity between 89 and 91%. Can you imagine any American politician today having 90% support? Only 10% of Americans don't like him. 90% support in the polling. It did not last. The economy went into a recession. Now, it lasted long enough to keep Mario Cuomo out of the race. Mario Cuomo was considered the Democrats' hero. Mario Cuomo was going to be the front runner. Mario Cuomo was the guy they wanted. He was a progressive from New York, and he was going to run. And George H.W. Bush's polling was so strong, he bailed on the race. Instead, a senator named Paul Tsongas decided to run, who was not a very good candidate. And then this redneck hillbilly from Arkansas, William Jefferson Blythe Clinton, decided to run. And he hired two guys, James Carville and Paul Begala. They had famously gotten a Democrat elected to the Senate in Pennsylvania and helped the Democrats do well in Pennsylvania. At a time, Pennsylvania was still a pretty Republican state. They had Bill Clinton's back, and what did they hit on? It's the economy stupid. And the way they ran that race, and yes, they had help with Ross Perot getting into the race. A lot of Republicans to this day are like, Ross Perot was the reason, although if you actually surveyed the Perot supporters at the time, a lot of the Perot supporters at the time said that they either wouldn't have voted or they would have voted for Clinton. So you can argue 1992 if you want that it was H. Ross Perot, but here Bill Clinton won. He became president. And what he did is he said essentially his message was that George H.W. Bush is a good man, but he's a creature of Washington and he doesn't get real America. He doesn't understand you. Paul Tsongas referred to Bill Clinton as the pander bear and would have someone dress up in a bear costume and go to Bill Clinton rallies. The pander bear. He would just, my gosh, I care about you. Bill Clinton was the first politician. He wouldn't point his finger at you like George H.W. Bush would do. He'd make a fist and put his thumb on top, and he'd point like that. I care about you. Way back in Arkansas, in my double-wide governor's mansion, when Hillary and Paula ain't there, all I do is sit on the couch, I turn off the porn, and I think about you. I care about you. That's why I eat at McDonald's. I love McDonald's because Americans love it. It's a terrible Clinton impression, but you get the I care about you. And he had these events where people would show up and they'd say, Governor Clinton, he's governor of Arkansas, Governor, What are we going to do about climate change? I think climate change is the biggest issue that Americans face today, and I will fight because I love you and I want to fight for you. Governor, what about education? Education is the biggest issue of the day. I thought you said climate change was the biggest issue of the day. Education is the biggest issue of the day because we got to educate Americans about climate change because we got to save the planet. He was Slick Willie, they called him, and he won. He won because it was economy stupid. And if you watch the documentary The War Room, James Carville wrote at the top of the chalkboard or the marker board in the campaign office, "It's the economy stupid," and everything came back to the economy. Joe Biden, as president, lied about the economy repeatedly. He insisted the economy was good and no one else felt it. And here's the problem for the Trump administration now is they are insisting to Americans that the economy is good, and increasingly Americans do not think the economy is good. And Trump supporters as well don't think the economy is good, but they're not blaming Donald Trump. That's the issue that the Democrats have to deal with. Is Republicans don't blame Donald Trump to a degree. They still blame Joe Biden because Biden so broke the economy real hard to get it fixed quickly. The jobs report today is part of the problem. Howard Lutnick going on CNBC this morning trying to claim that everything is hunky-dory is part of the problem. There's some realism here. Let me just read. This goes back to Patrick Ruffini's piece. During Trump's first term, he was Mr. Economy, so much so that economic perception immediately improved upon his taking over from Barack Obama. Views of the state of the economy haven't rebounded in the same way during Trump 2.0. The same apolitical swing voters frustrated with the cost of living under Biden have transferred their frustration to Trump. Among swing voters, it's Trump's worst issue, just like it was for Joe Biden. Part of this is a new post-COVID structural pessimism. Since the pandemic, consumer confidence has stayed low, even when economic statistics were good. Democrats complained about this under Biden, and now they're benefiting from this phenomenon under Trump. It comes as part of a Wall Street Journal story titled "Americans Lose Faith That Hard Work Leads to Economic Gains." I still think there are some questions about whether switching from phone to online surveys hasn't exaggerated the extent of the downward trend, but we also found a sharp drop in 2025 on this exact question of whether hard work leads to economic success. All of this comes on top of today's jobs numbers showing just 22,000 jobs created. Baseline economic perception is going to be an even bigger challenge for the White House than it already was, one that's going to be harder to push against with a narrative focused on cultural wins like the drop in border crossings. In the immortal words of James Carville, it's the economy stupid. And what would make workers feel better about the state of the economy? The answer is pretty simple. Get the cost of living under control and make housing more affordable. Also notice what workers least wanted politicians to prioritize: tariffs and immigration control from the right and unionization from the left. What do workers want politicians to de-emphasize, in other words? From the right, tariffs; from the left, unionization. There's a pretty big disconnect between what workers want and what politicians say they want. Talking to Latino voters in North Jersey, ground zero for the realignment in 2024, the Christian Science Monitor found cost of living front and center. The vector for frustration about higher costs right now is electricity costs, which the various abundances have ready-made answers to: spin new energy infrastructure, embrace all of the above energy. Republicans can tout natural gas, coal, and nuclear, Democrats solar and wind. The challenge here will be that as long as we're locked into a cycle of negative economic perception anchored to rising costs, what the price increase du jour is, whether it's eggs or meat or something else, will seem all important. He's not wrong. If I could have the president's attention, I would give him a few pieces of advice. If I could just get Donald Trump's attention for a minute, I would point him to this Patrick Ruffini piece that the moment Donald Trump became president in 2017, January 20th, 2017, the moment He said, "So help me God." People's optimism about the economy spiked. Among swing voters, Donald Trump had massive popular approval, even as his overall popularity rating among voters and swing voters wasn't great. It was around 40%. He had over 50% support of swing voters on the economy, and through his entire first term, he did. The only exception was during COVID. It went wobbly, but the economy went wobbly because of COVID, and that wasn't his fault. And voters did not blame him. And I submit to you this day, Donald Trump would have gotten his second term but for COVID. Fast forward to his second term. Trump is underwater with the same swing voters who gave him inordinate amounts of credit for the economy in his first term. They hate him on the economy now, just like Joe Biden. Why? What did Joe Biden do? Inflation was out of control, and they said it was transient, it was transitory, it wouldn't last, it was no big deal. People weren't really feeling it. It wasn't true, and people felt it. And now along comes Trump. The only major change has been tariffs. And what's he said? It's no big deal. It's other countries paying it. It's not the American citizens. Look at all the revenue we're getting. That revenue's coming from the American citizens, and he can't be honest with it in the same way Joe Biden couldn't be honest about inflation. And the voters are smart. I say people are stupid. They are. People are stupid. But they get into the voting booth, and they work their genius. And it is genius every time. The American people work for their collective best interests. And Donald Trump was in their best interest against Joe Biden because Donald Trump was going to fix the economy. And tariffs have not done that. He needs to go back to his first administration's economic policies. He needs to recognize that it's a tough sell to rebuild manufacturing in this country when it's been so decimated. Instead, reprioritize or reprogram. We've lost 76,000 manufacturing jobs in this country in the last quarter. That's on his watch. And here's the problem for the Trump administration. This goes back to something I said to y'all months and months and months ago, whether you agree with me or not. And again, I do want to be clear here. Whether you agree with me or not, you can be completely right and I can be completely wrong on tariffs. Just for the sake of argument, you could be completely right and I could be completely wrong. But you need to acknowledge this, even if you think you're right. The only major change to our economy that has come from the Trump administration is the tariffs. That's the only major, profound economic change. And because of that, because it's been so prominent, it's been the focus of everything. Voters, whether they're right or not, whether I'm right or not, whether you're right or not, voters are going to blame that change. And so they'll blame Trump for that change. So I would tell the president, you may get saved by a Supreme Court that throws the tariffs out, but it may also be time for you to declare your victory, get rid of tariffs, say you've now made fair trade with everybody. The Fed will cut interest rates. The economy will explode. You will have undone the one thing that Americans can point to say that was the disruption. The other thing you do need to do, Mr. President, and I know you're already working on it, is energy. We need more oil extracted domestically. We need more natural gas. We need more pipelines. And we need the infrastructure started today so that by the time the Democrats get back in office, they can't stop it. All of the above works. If you do another reconciliation package, I would put every tax incentive possible on the books for power companies to build nuclear as quickly as possible. Get it done. Stop being scared of it. Energy and prices are going to be the issues that cause the economy to either explode or contract. Deal with both of those. You can mitigate any damage in the midterm for the party out of power tends to do well because we do not want, we cannot have the Democrats get back into power. Because here's the thing, if the Democrats win in 2026, they're going to look at it as affirmation that they were right about their theory of everything for 2028. And that'll actually hurt them in 28. They'll lose. But for 2 years, they'll be convicted of it. And that'll be bad for all of us. We need the Democrats to lose in 26, which means we need the economy to come roaring to life, which means something's got to give within the policies of this administration right now. Hello, my friends. I hope you're ready for the weekend. Y'all, football is well and truly back. I was looking at my calendar. I'm going to the Braves-Mariners game tonight, and then you got the Chiefs at the Chargers tonight. And then on Sunday, you've got it's everybody. I've got all the football games. I have all the football games calendared. So Cardinals at Saints, Panthers at Jaguars, Bengals Browns, Raiders Patriots, Dolphins Colts, Giants Commanders, Steelers Jets. Poor Jets. Buccaneers and the Falcons, and that's at 1 p.m. Eastern. At 4 p.m. Eastern, you got 49ers Seahawks, Titans Broncos, Lions Packers, Texans Rams, and then we'll be sitting on my front porch on Sunday night for the best game of the day. Ravens versus Bills is going to be a heck of a game. Now, here's the thing. You may not care for it, but this will be one of the most watched weekends on TV because football is back. I honestly did not know. I have guys over on Sunday nights. We sit on the porch. We watch football. I did not realize that Sunday Night Football on NBC has been every week since 2011 the most watched TV in America. More people will watch Sunday night's NBC coverage of its NFL game than any other program for the week. That's how uniting football is for people across the political spectrum. And so I guarantee you what you are going to see are the forces of evil at work on both sides trying to convince you for some reason or another that you should avoid watching something that unifies America, because neither side likes it when we unite around something on TV and everybody wants you off watching something else. Don't take the bait. Enjoy your football game without guilt. Avoid watching the cheerleaders. That'll help. All right, I got to tell you about Americans for Prosperity. They want you to take a step for freedom. If 250,000 of us take one step for freedom, we will have taken 250,000 steps for freedom. It is their challenge time for the 250th anniversary of our nation. Yes, we as a country on July 4th will be 250 years old, still a young nation. And yet, despite being a young nation, we have the oldest still used Constitution on planet Earth. There are people on both sides who think it's irrelevant. It's not. It's deeply relevant, and we should commit ourselves to the freedoms the founders wanted us to commit to. Go to afpvolunteer.com today to sign up. afpvolunteer.com. Sign up with Americans for Prosperity. Take one of the steps for freedom. Advance freedom across the country. Join AFP and me. I'm on their board of advisors. They're a great organization. They are fully committed to the cause of freedom in this country, to common sense conservative reforms, and to the founders' vision of limited government. AFPvolunteer.com is where you want to sign up. AFPvolunteer.com. Sign up today. You guys have a fantastic weekend. I will see you on Monday.